Come in.
I'm going to bring this public hearing to order on August 22nd regarding the Greater Clark collective bargaining. Greater Clark is required to hold a public hearing on collective bargaining. If you desire to comment, when I open the public hearing for comments, you should do that. You would raise your hand when recognized, come forward to the podium, state your name for the record, and provide your comments. So at this point in time, I'm asking you open this to the public hearing, public for any comments this meeting, and ask those interested in making comments to raise your hand, please. Okay. If no one desires to make a comment on collective bargaining, I declare this public hearing ended. Thank you. All right. Next thing will be our regular meeting, and I would like to say that it's the August 22nd, 2023 Greater Clark County School Board of Trustee meeting, and all board members are present, including Ms. Mustaine on Zoom. We all stand with me to say the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to move that we approve the agenda as presented. Board, could I please have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Paul. Any questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained. Ms. Mustaine?
Aye.
Thank you. The next item would be public comments. I do not believe we have public comments. And next would be the core projects update. Board. Good afternoon. Morning. Whatever.
Good to see everybody.
Hello again.
Yeah, everybody rehydrated and doing okay?
Yes. A little hot up there.
Yeah, it was a little hot, but thank you all for joining us. Yes, today at the Ribbon Cutting for Jeff Activities Complex, it was a great event. Really excited to get those kids playing out there. So we can go ahead and do this one.
I'll do it you if you want to.
Oh,
say
sure.
it's right. You're welcome.
So, been asked to give a facilities update on the projects that we have underway. So I'll try to make it brief. We have a lot going on. So first, just want to thank our partners, specifically on the construction management and architecture side, AML Construction, Jamie Lake with J Lake Associates, and Mark Beebe Design and Ratio, along with all of our engineering partners. They've been a great help getting us across the finish line in design on all the projects we're going to talk to you. So it's really an exciting time. We only have one project that's still in design. Of all the ones that we're going to cover, everything else is in construction. So that's an exciting time. And it's all because of the partners that we have. We've been able to get it across the finish line. But also, I told you at one point that this list of trade partners and subcontractors was going to grow and grow and grow. And you can see here, I couldn't even fit everybody on there. It's amazing how many people want to work with the district and how excited people are whenever we do put projects out to bid, how excited they are to get on board. So thank you to everybody on this list and more. We couldn't do it without them as well. So got to give them a shout out. It's not full screen, but you can see this is the district map, and these are the year one projects across the district. I always like to show it so that you can get a sense of where these projects are at. And this is the project schedule. So as of right now, we have 2 completed projects. Riverside Elementary is done, completed, and Jeffersonville High School Tennis Complex, I guess you have seen it, it is completed as well. As far as the rest of the projects that are going on in year one, we have New Washington is finishing up. It really will be done within the next month or so. Towards the end of August, we should see completion. Students are already out there using some of the facilities. The sort of the last one to be wrapped up is the hitting facility for them. So thankfully, baseball season isn't until the spring, so they'll have plenty of time to start using it. North Haven Elementary should be wrapping up by the end of the year, and I have some pictures to show you the progress there. River Valley Middle School just went out to bid, and we received bids back in the middle of June, and so we've started construction there with demolition. I have some pictures of that. And then this is the last one, Charlestown Middle School is the last project that's currently in design with Jamie Lake, and we should be expecting bids in the middle of September and start construction, wrapping up by next summer on all of those projects. So everything will be done and wrapped up by summer of 2024. So let's take a look. So you all got to tour the site, but this is Jeffersonville High School from a bird's eye view. So you can see it's really turned out amazing. Ironically, this doesn't have all the graphics, so we'll have a final photos session. I was talking with Jamie about that. We'll send you all the photos that we collect, including the final ones, all doctored up, and including drone photos like this. But as far as the outside, you can kind of see the second story there. And then this is for your constituents too, to see the coatings and some of the graphics that have gone on. It was a great project, so really excited to be done with that. And like I said, you'll have final photos here in the next couple months. Riverside Elementary, if you haven't had a chance to tour that facility, it looks great on both the outside and the inside. You can see, minus the dirtiness of the old building versus the new, it looks great as an extension of the Riverside campus there, the new additions. Inside, you see hallways, new flooring in the extended hallways, as well as the new casework and flooring that went in. Really, these are final photos. Here's a teacher that's moved into the classroom, and that's what we love to see, right? Them getting to put their personal touches on the facilities. The one to the right is a picture of one of the larger kindergarten classrooms, so you get a sense of scale in those larger rooms. Moving on to New Washington, this is a picture, a bird's eye view of the hitting facility that's going into New Washington. And then inside, you see the framing that's going in. This is about 2 weeks old, potentially, so a lot has happened even in the last 2 weeks, but you see we framed out the rooms to the back of the hitting facility. And then this is a picture on the inside of the long space where all the nets will be hung for the hitting, and plenty of room in there. On the track and field, this is a much older picture, but I want to get you a sense of what it looked like from a bird's eye view of the tennis facility, as well as the track being asphalted. We'll have striping done this week, I believe is what the calendar said, and then the actual tennis facility is actually done. It's been coated, and you see students are already out there playing on it. We have the bleachers and the fencing all done as well on that, so it's ready to go. You'll have some grass growing around there here soon, and you'll never know what we'll get. Here's some more facility updates. So the outbuilding is being painted currently. We also have dugouts being redone at New Washington, fencing being redone at the softball fields here. So a lot going on there. This is a picture of the baseball dugouts. Those are also getting a fresh coat of paint, and they'll all be re-roofed, and new graphics are being put on. So just as a reminder, here's some of the graphic package that you should see towards the end of the project. And looking forward to cut the ribbon on this and show everybody the really awesome work that's been done out there. A lot of little things have been done to make it really sparkle, and it's going to be great. North Haven Elementary, here's a gym edition from a bird's eye view. Most recent picture I could find of the drone, but what you're seeing is really amazing. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, because the process of putting this together, if you've never seen a tilt-up concrete panel building like this, it's pretty amazing. A crane comes out and actually sets in place each concrete panel one by one until it forms the box that we see here. And then as it's being, you see there's those braces inside, as it's then being hooked together, you put steel trusses across the top to hold it all internally, put the decking on top of it, so these are just pictures of that. And then we have that outdoor walkway component where the kids can come in through that or through, so you can come in through the exterior or the interior to get into the gym. As I said, those are a little bit older pictures, but as you zoom in, you can see that we've been putting the insulated panels on. You can't see it in that picture, you can hear the glazing, the windows are going in, the brick around the bottom is all going in. So that's going well. So this is the outcome with the graphics package. This is what we're striving to get to, and that's on track right now. Internally, North Haven was actually turned over. The internal renovation was turned over before school started, so we had several spaces that had to be redone. But you see the new classroom spaces the kindergarten classroom spaces that were the old gym that has been reconfigured, a bathroom for the kindergarten space. See all the flooring. Keep going down. Here is, sorry. Some more spaces, a hallway. This is the cafeteria, and then the kitchen as well, kind of refresh. So a lot that we had to get done in the summer, and you guys have short summers. I don't know if you realize that, but we were able to manage to get it all turned over on time. So really, really happy about that. So really now all that's left in North Haven is the addition and finishing up that part. Here is River Valley Middle School. Anybody ever swim in this pool? If not, this is the old pool at River Valley that we are currently under demolition. Nobody is using it, so we're in that space while we can be. It's a big demolition. I mean, you're talking about a lot that needs to be removed. Here's the old bleachers here that are all concrete that have to be ripped out. This is the old community shower space that's being removed, one tile at a time. So a lot of progress happening in a short amount of time, just in demolition on River Valley. Okay, so year 2 facility projects, as you know, are the brand spanking new elementary schools, and we thank you all for being out there. Here's a picture of the schedule. Can't even fit it all on the screen. That includes year 1 and 2, and so as you can see, we've completely started at Charleston and at Pike. We have received bids on the full package for both of the schools as well, and are ready to go. So that's exciting. I mean, it's going to happen. You're going to start seeing concrete and then elevation here in the next couple months before winter. So it'll be really exciting to see more pictures as that happens. We also have Charlestown High School. If you don't remember, we're doing a locker room for the football, and that should be done. The goal is to be done by the end of the year. Obviously, that would be for next football season, but that locker room will also serve other sports, so it'll be ready for all spring sports as well. That's the goal. So I was going to show that year 0.5 facility project here. Here's a bird's eye view again of where that's going to land on the high school campus. You can see that layout. And then here's some up close. We finished the foundation walls. They put down the vapor barriers and all of the rebar, as well as done all the plumbing. And then this was really cool. It started at really early in the morning. They did a single day pour slab of that whole facility, and you can see the outcome on the right. So this is the left. This is early in the morning when they started, and to the right, that's when the finished product, same day. Pretty neat. Charlestown Elementary, you all have been out there, and this is kind of what it looks like. It's as of right now, it's a big mud pit. No, it's not. It's very controlled, but it is. Yeah, it's just a big excavation site right now. We're doing karst remediation, which is sinkhole remediation, as well as all the site work that had to be done, removing all of the old, all the old site elevation, but also the playground equipment that was there. All that has been removed, so it won't be long before we start seeing foundations going in. This is a cool technology we have on both of our new projects that I wanted to mention, and we can give it to you if we need it. This is a live view that is available to you at all times. It's on top of our trailer, and it's a website you can visit, and you can see the project at any given time, and then also we'll be able to put together time lapses for you through the project. So it gets really interesting when you start seeing everything come together. We can put together time lapses at any given point for you, so you'll have a good idea of the timeline for those projects. I want to mention that. You all might recognize the people in this photo. So we obviously broke ground officially on that project over the summer since I saw you last. So really exciting. You were all there. I don't have to give you a spiel about that, but I was really proud to be a part of that. At Pike, this was the most recent drone photo. You've seen it since then, right? This is them clearing out all of the trees surrounding that area. I don't know if anybody noticed that they're all gone now, but they are. And that side also is a big excavation site, so you've all seen that more recently. I want to show where those trees were. It's really amazing. And then again, our groundbreaking ceremony was really exciting. And we'll have that 3D model to you here soon so you can display it. All right. Last thing, Laura's told me she's mad at me for putting her picture up in here, but she looks great. So for those that didn't know, over the summer in June, we partnered with the City of Charlestown, specifically with Triva, to do a Lego build day for the city. Some of you were involved with that or knew about it. But it was a really awesome time. We had 120 students come to this event. We co-sponsored it along with the city and the University of Louisville Speed School, Maker 13, Zaxby's, and Copper Kettle all provided lunches and breakfast. It was a full day of building. The cool thing about this was really the outcome on the school side. This was the students. We assisted the students in creating a model of the actual Charlestown Elementary School, which was really hard because the designers designed it not in the square. So they did a great job, a really great job putting that together. You see our safety manager to the left there. She had wore our hard hat all day just to make sure everybody's safe. Got to be careful out there in the field. Safety first. So I just want to share those things with you. It was a really great opportunity to share community impact, and the city is super excited. Charlestown and Jeffersonville are both just over the moon. You heard Mike Moore from Jeffersonville today. Like, they're really excited about what's going on. So, any questions for the board? Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, next item will be the consent agenda. Board, do I have a motion for the approval of the consent agenda?
I move that we approve the consent agenda, but I do have a question.
Okay.
Have to wait, yeah.
Okay, I second that. Any questions or comments?
Yes. Just wondered on the temporary assignment, you've got a teacher at Providence High School. What is that?
That is actually Brooks. When you're going to hear later that I'm going to have an action item, we have to be the lead education agency for our non-public schools. And so this is actually some of Brooks' special ed money because of their identified students that are attending at Providence, but they reside in our district. So she has to have an assignment of, it has to be our employee who's working there. And that's what that is.
And it's just temporary.
It is because the grant runs out and there's just a little bit of money left that we need to use in that account. And so it's just only until the end of September.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor of the consent agenda as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Or abstaining? Ms. Mustaine, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you very much. All right, let's move right along. Gifts to buildings.
We have some big ones, Bass Pro and Cabela's, $1,000 for the Archery Club. Greater North Clark Healthcare Foundation, another $2,400 to the Archery Club. Anthony Afro, $3,000 for tables and chairs for the tennis complex for Jeffersonville High School. And I move that we, and AML Construction, picnic tables and seats at JHS Tennis Complex. So a lot of that has been donated, which is amazing. I move that we accept these gifts to buildings in the amount of $17,016.42.
Thank you, Ms. Hutchinson. Do I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Any questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining. Ms. Mustaine, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Okay, next we have our action items. This would be the approval of the master contract with Parent Educators Association. Ms. Helton, how are you tonight?
I'm doing well, how are you?
Very good, thank you.
Good. Okay, so the first item we have here is our approval of a master contract with the Parent Educators Association. The Parent Educators and Administration have reached a tentative agreement on a 2-year contract covering salary and wage-related benefits. The parents voted to ratify this contract on August the 14th. The administration would like to thank all of our parents, especially those who sat on the bargaining committee, for all of their hard work. The couple of just highlights of the contract here, it is a 2-year term, so it's good through June 30th of 2025. We did increase the association days from 5 to 7 days. We did increase the base pay from $12 to $14 per hour. So on the first year, it'll be a base pay. On the second year, it's $1 an hour, but that is within levels, so it'll be a level increase, not just a base. The increase to the severance pay went from $7 an hour to $10 an hour, and the stipend that they get paid for being highly qualified was moved to December per their request. And then also, paraeducators, we put it in the contract to be able to pay them the extra $2 an hour when they cover for CDAs and classified specialists. It was already in the contract for them to cover for teachers, but we wanted to put those in as well because they're covering for them too. So with that being said, we would like to ask for approval of the master contract with the Paraeducators Association.
Awesome. Board, I'm going to approve the master contract as presented for the Parent Educators Association. Do I have a second?
And I second that, Mr. President.
Thank you. Paul, do we have any questions, comments, or concerns?
Well, I'm just glad that we're able to pay these very important people a little bit more, and
I agree.
you know, I just, and it's, especially when they're covering for somebody else like that. I know that's always been an issue, and I'm glad we're able to do that.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, all those in favor of the approval of this, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And abstaining? Ms. Mustaine, how do you vote?
Aye.
That a girl. All right. All right, next is the approval of master contract with Greater Clark Service Association.
So this is me too. So this is the recommendation for our bus driver contract. So we reached a tentative agreement on their master contract covering salary and wage-related benefits. The bus drivers ratified their contract on August 14th. Administration would like to thank the transportation bargaining team for their hard work on negotiations. Thank you. Also would like to thank bus drivers in general. I think we've all seen their importance, especially here recently, so we want to thank all of them. Just a couple of high points of their contract changes. Annual leave is going to revert back to being 10 days, so that's just to compensate for the e-learning days that we no longer have in the calendar. And these annual leave payment will increase from $65 to $75 per day. The retirement severance will increase from $40 to $50 a day for monitors, and then from $50 to $60 for drivers. The extracurricular rates are going to increase from $14.30 per hour to $18 an hour, with a minimum guaranteed change from $52.17 to $100 per trip. Hourly wages are going to increase by $3 per level of years of service on the first year, so that's the 23-24 school year, and then $1 per year on the years of service for 24 to 25 school year. So the grandfathered monitor rate will increase from $14.08 to $17.16 per hour for the first year, and then $18.16 on the second year. And then bus drivers will also be provided online training to earn wages on e-learning days versus having to come in to do this on those days. So with that being said, we would like to ask for approval of our contract with the Greater Clark Services Association.
Perfect. Board, do I have a motion for the approval of the contract with Greater Clark Service Association?
I move to approve.
Thank you, Ms. Hutchinson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Perkins. Any questions or comments?
I just have a question. This is for our employees. Now, if they're a contract driver, does that affect them at all? This
This contract does not.
Okay, so this is just the people that work for Greater Clark.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, any other comments?
No question.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Borders, we're still hiring, right?
Yes, we are.
Just want that on record.
That's right. There you go. Okay, all those in favor of the motion to approve the contract with Greater Clark Service Association, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining. Ms. Mustaine, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're moving right along. You up again?
Yes.
All right, ESS addendum, substitute pay increase. Nice.
So before I move on to this, I just want to say one little thing. If ever anybody else goes on about raises and increases and things, we are working to bargain with the teachers. So anybody that's watching this, also with our fringe benefit groups, we do plan to do those increases soon as well. So we'll be bringing those to the board. We're hoping we'll have an agreement soon and by September 26th. So we just want to make sure we didn't forget any of them that are watching. They're all, in the forefront. We know that it's coming, so just want to let them know that.
Thank you.
So we do want to present, the next item is the ESS addendum, and so this is our substitute pay increase that we would like to ask for approval of. And the rates that we would like to do for fair educators, we would like to increase them from $85 to $95 a day. Substitute teachers, we would like to increase from $100 to $125 a day. And then we would like to increase retired teachers and permanent subs, those are the ones who are actually ESS employees, but they're getting paid to the same building every day, from $125 to $150 per day. So with that being said, we would like to ask for your approval of the addendum to the ESS contract.
Board, I move we approve the addendum to the ESS contract. Second. Thanks, Ms. Perkins. Do we have any questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed and abstaining. Ms. Abstaining, how do you vote?
Aye.
Atta girl. All right, so moving right along. Okay,
Thank
thanks.
you.
Thank you. We're gonna hang around. You're doing so well. All right, resolution authorizing litigation against social media companies.
Absolutely. Board, as you remember, we were part of a class action lawsuit with the baby lawsuit with Jewel and Philip Morris. Both of those have been settled now in terms of we're still waiting for our payment. We know what that will be. A significant amount of money, a little over $200,000 that we'll get from Jewel and Altria or Philip Morris. Now there's another class action lawsuit in regards to social media and some of the negative things that have occurred because of social media, especially in schools. And we've certainly faced that, whether it be issues that we have to deal with as school officials because of bullying through social media, or if you remember a couple of years ago, the TikTok challenge where they were tearing up bathrooms and soap dispensers in the school bathrooms and things of that nature. So I'm asking the board for us to be a part of this lawsuit, class action lawsuit, very similar to, it's the same law firm that's doing this suit as the one that did the Jewel lawsuit. So I'm asking the board, recommending the board to be part of this class action lawsuit.
Board, do I have a motion for the approval of a resolution authorizing litigation against social media companies with Wagstaff and Cardinal LLP?
Mr. President, I move that we approve the resolution authorizing litigation against the social media
Thanks,
companies.
Mr. Paul. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Hutchinson. Any questions or comments?
I do, Mr. President. Just as someone who works in direct patient care and see a direct result of this with our young people in terms of everything from these TikTok challenges to cyberbullying and everything, and just want to say, parents continue to educate and monitor your children with social media?
I don't think people realize how much time our school level administrators spend, on this issue. Things that happen during the school day, but also outside of the school day. But then it's brought into the school, and it's an immense amount of time that our administrators and teachers are spending dealing with this.
And also not to mention the cost in terms of inpatient stays and other mental health care associated with it.
Or do I have a motion for the approval of a resolution authorizing litigation against social media companies? Did we get, oh yeah, we're talking about it, aren't we? Okay, then we're going to go ahead and go on with it. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed and abstaining. Ms. Abstain, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, next go around, non-public equitable share contract. Dr. Hawkins, how are you?
I'm great, thank you.
Good.
In requirement with Federal Title I, we are required to be the local education agency and monitoring the amount of funding that goes to the non-public schools who are in our district. and even that are outside of our district, but have students who live within our boundaries. We do not service high schools in our district, so Providence is not a part of this as far as Title I. So this is actually a contract for Sacred Heart, because I have to manage the money for them and do all the contracts. And this is an upcoming presentation by Mike Schmoker with Results Consulting, which will take place November 7th. In this session, teachers and leaders will learn precisely where schools should focus their precious time and resources to ensure all students are prepared for the demands of college, careers, and citizenship. They'll learn about the three most essential elements of good schooling and how to implement them on a clear, straightforward model. The three elements are coherent curriculum, authentic literacy, and sound structured lessons.
Board, do I have a motion for the approval of the Sacred Heart Agreement?
A motion to approve the Sacred Heart Agreement.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Do I have a second? Thank you, Mr. Jones. Do we have any questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor of the approval of the Sacred Heart Agreement, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed and abstaining. Ms. Mustaine, how do you vote?
Aye.
Okay, no. Next item up would be Indiana Learns Tutoring Program.
Yes, Board, we are very excited to be a part of this. Last year, the state is part of the ESSER money that's a state allocation. And they started this last year, but they had a lot of red tape that went along with it as far as districts having to pay a portion of this. But essentially, it's an enrichment program supporting reading and math growth for eligible young Hoosiers by funding tutoring in a variety of settings. Eligible families demonstrating both financial and academic need can access up to $1,000 to spend on approved providers, which we are now one of those, on high dosage tutoring and approved out-of-school academic programs with their students. Then they will also have an opportunity to extend that $1,000 once it ends. Greater Clark Schools has been approved as a learning partner provider and will initially provide literacy support to students in grades 3 through 8 who did not pass the English language arts during the 22-23 testing window. Tutors must be certified in Orton Billingham training and will be paid $50 an hour. We will be reimbursed for that. Our teachers, it's going to operate on a portal platform that we'll have to train our teachers on how to do that, some of the accountability pieces that they'll be responsible for. We will be able to reimburse $100 an hour. $50 of that will be paid to our teacher. And then the other $50 will be to cover benefits and our processing fees to the district. The program, we will start it in some pilot sites until they're going through some transition right now and their leadership and some changes to the portal. So once we get that up and running, we do plan to extend that to other schools, but we're going to start small and get the lay of the land, and then we'll have those opportunities for our students until June of 2024.
Cool. Board, I move that we approve the Indiana Learns Tutoring Program. Could I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Perkins. Any questions or comments?
I have a question.
Okey-doke.
This is, I was reading about this program quite a while back, and I didn't know how they were going to actually put it together so that our kids could benefit from this. But when it says approved out-of-school academic programs, is there a list of those, or I don't understand now? I know we're an approved program, but
What has happened is different organizations can apply. There was an application process that we applied to, and we had to explain when we were going to offer it, who was going to offer it, what kind of certification did our teachers have. They had to have a certain kind of training and programming, which for us, we have so many teachers now trained in Orton Billingham, and that was one of the approved programs. So any provider can apply to be a part of this, and then they approve you. And then they have been contacting our parents. We already have some parents who have applied for this. And last year, there were some other concerns that we had about it, but now that they've made some changes and ultimately, I think there's, a lot of that ESSER money sitting there that needs to be spent quickly, so they loosened up some of the criteria. And it was appealing for us to be able to provide that for our kids. But once you're a provider, we will advertise that to our parents, and we'll give them the guidance on how to apply. And then we will connect them with our tutors, and then they will go in, we'll designate dates and times of when they can sign up. And so essentially $1,000, that would be 10 sessions, right? Our hope is to have all this up and running when we come back from fall break, because that gives us time to learn ourselves and then train our tutors what they're going to have to do on the platform. And then once that's up and running, parents will actually go in and select the times of when they want to work with our teachers. And our kids will get additional support.
I know there was some chatter early on about whether or not this program would have some oversight. So I'm glad to hear that there is a vetting program as to who it may be, because there was some concern that parents would provide the tutoring and get paid, like an at-home program, homeschool.
Right.
And that was causing the program to slow up, and I'm glad to see that they've done.
When you go on their website, you can see the list of providers, and so there's a lot of just like private tutoring businesses, and not very many school districts actually. So I do think maybe they've tightened up this whole application process, and some of the questions, I could tell they were trying to vet some of that out. And we didn't promote it tremendously because we didn't want, we have certain initiatives and things in place, and we didn't want them receiving instruction that may be circumvented or contradicted what we were, approaching.
Yes.
Or implementing. So we're excited about it now, since it will be our teachers. We had a previous partnership with Marion, so we've already got some tutors who are kind of used to this. I worked with the business office, and then they will bill us back. We have to do it by the 5th of the month. And so we're working out our process and how it's going to flow, so then we can run stipends through the board, and then we can do an invoice for reimbursement.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other comments? Okay,
One more.
please.
It says the program is going to start with pilot sites.
We're going to start small. That means we're not going to do it district-wide.
Does that mean like specific schools? Or?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, we're going to start with North Haven, because partially that decision, we ran it through the academic team. They already have several Orton Gillingham tutors that have been working with Marion, so they've kind of already got some clientele that they've been working with that we can plug in and streamline our process of how it's going to work with collecting stipends and dates that they're due. And then as we get that settled and kind of iron out the wrinkles, if you will, with one school, instead of having all kinds of obstacles with 9 schools. So we'll expand that as we get comfortable.
So can a student from one of our other schools participate at North Haven?
Potentially, but they have, it's any student that did not pass.
Right.
ELA and of poverty. So we also looked at our numbers of where those were, and so we just thought that's a good place to start. And then we're hoping to a couple bring in Parkwood shortly thereafter, and look at our numbers and go from there.
Okay.
That's me. All those in favor of the approval of the Indiana Learns Tutoring Program, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Ms. Mustaine, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Hartledge. Okay, we're at that special time. Board comments? Mr. Jones? Good. Ms. Hutchinson? Mr. Paul? Ms. Mustaine?
Just one brief. While I certainly appreciate technology, I'm just being with you guys tonight.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Mr. Freeman?
Yeah, so we did the ribbon cutting today at the new Mark Riley tennis facility at JHS. It looks awesome. I look forward to seeing what else Corey has in plan for us. We've already seen a few of the projects as they did the presentation today. But yeah, everything is looking on the up and up, and I'm really excited for everybody's going to be taking part in that facility, and of course, everything else that we got going down the pipeline.
Ms. Perkins?
Well, I'd like to just congratulate again Mr. Borders, who's sitting over there. He does still have that smile on his face where, you know, all the things that's been going on across the river. I'm very thankful that we had our ducks in a row, and I know that you've worked very hard to get that done and hire the right people, and thank you.
I just want to say really quickly, yeah, it was an awesome day. Mark Riley, congratulations to him. And so, like I say, he didn't build the program by himself, but he certainly was in the middle of it. I also want to let everybody know, and I hope I'm not letting the cat out of the bag, I know that Mr. Mike Moore had told him, but the football game, the dedication of the football field has been moved to Saturday night instead of Friday because of the heat. I just wanted everybody to know that. So thank you very much.
Also, it was a great ribbon cutting. Also want to thank the board for approving the contracts, new contracts for the bus drivers and also the paras. I think what we have done within these agreements is really significant in increases in compensation and well-deserving for the bus drivers and the paras. And so we're very happy to do that for our employees, and look forward to coming to agreements with the rest of our employees and getting those done late, in the next month or so.
Okay, awesome. Mark Aston. Okay, or I need a move for adjournment.
I move to adjourn.
A second?
Second.
Look at all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ms. Mustaine? We're adjourned. Okay. Right to our work session.
We're doing a work session on the budget, so if you want to stay, you're more than welcome. If you don't want to stay, that's
Don't go.
Sorry about that.
how much do you like that?
Please don't go. Hey, nice job. No, it's fine.
Well, I don't know where they come from. But hang on, wait.
Thank you.
You're sharing that coffee.
Thank you.
I don't know, that came from transportation, your transportation, right?
That need a battery overnight.
Well, they sure didn't share it with anybody. Must be a big secret. Have a good night anyway.
Hey, thank you.
Go ahead. Oh, start the meeting, John.
Okay, at this point in time, we will bring the work session to order. I'm sorry about that.
Thank you, Mr. President. Of course, this is one of my favorite things, as much talking as I do. This is one of my favorite things to do. And, the first 3 years together, we've been doing Budget 101. I think you graduated to 102, and we're going to get a little bit more detail on operations on how this budget comes into play. Because everything handshakes in the district, as I've been preaching for a long time. From contract negotiations to the mission to 5-year facility plan impacts everything we do on budget. And it's very helpful that we have that long-term plan. We have long-term plans past 30 years in this district. So that way, when portions are passed on, they would not be facing some of the things that the superintendent faced. So we're going to start a little bit different this time. In your book, before we start turning around looking at the screen and on the presentation, I'm going to have you turn to page 59 in that book. so wish, do you, this form right here is called Form 4B, State of Indiana names all their forms, and this is actually your budget. Very simple, right? I wish I could just go through and say, there it is, but it takes page 59.
I know, sure, I forgot that part, but your PowerPoint is it's not the same as this book, correct? There's less.
Your book has more.
I got you.
Has
Okay,
more.
okay, need to hold up the show.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can do that. There we go. 58, there you go.
So the point of the matter is the presentation and the work that the business office does all year, and particularly the CFO starting in June. A lot of work builds up just to fill out these forms, this particular form. So you have to know the history of the district, where you were, where we're at, where we're going. So all of those things I mentioned earlier play into creating these numbers here. So let's go something that's really easy, rainy day, which is our cash bucket, which we know is a goal for us to obtain $10 million. Should be at 16. I foresee this district getting there naturally in 16 million, but that will take some time. But 10 million will be our benchmark that we need to get to. So you can see that right at the very first line, the very first number you see is June 30th. So when I'm presenting June 30th numbers and financials to you, this is very significant because in a budget, they take a look at the previous year's budget that they approved for you. Okay, so in 23, they're monitoring that all the way through. So they then project over 18 months. So we're looking at 18 months worth of work from July 1 all the way to December 31st of 24. Okay? So June 30th, cash balance tells the story on how we're going to finish the year and what you're allowed to ask in the ensuing year. So that's why I'm going pretty hardcore in June. What we're posting, what we're getting, and presenting to the board so you know that's your benchmark starting. So in 23, the board approved $3 million to be the appropriation. The appropriation, remember, in Budget 101 is the authority to spend. And I go to the Department of Local Government Finance, which I'm going to refer to as the DLGF. They oversee cities, towns, schools, and all budgeting agencies. And based on the data I provide, they authorize appropriation. Okay? So we approved through budget last year $3 million. Now, you have heard me come to you before in reducing appropriation requests, if I don't use it this year, to increase next year, okay? I'm not going to ask for a reduction because I'm not sure between now and the end of the year if I need to use $3 million because we are in a position where I can use it as a pass-through until we get bond money in. We're in a position to do that, and that's a very good position to be in. We also do things such as if we know that the bond money's coming in, we create a fund that isolates that, and we have enough cash held with all of our funds that I can overdraw a fund until that bond money comes in. So I have been leaving your rainy day alone, but if we get into a large purchase, if we want to purchase land, if we need to make a payment on equipment that I feel that I don't want to handle in our normal cash flow, then I will come to the rainy day. So therefore, I'm not asking for a reduction. So it says, this is what this form, top half of the form says, you have $6.1 million. Do you have enough money to cover that $3 million? The answer is yes, right? So therefore, in the ensuing year, that should mean if I had $6.1 million and you're going to take care of $3 million potentially this year, that only leaves you $3.150 in cash that will support appropriations that you want to ask for. Then it says, are there any additional revenues that are going in there? I never make a promise, because if I don't have the money to transfer in, I don't, right? Wish I could just tell you, but I don't have it, and I don't. So in essence, all I have is $3.1 million to ask for in the next year. So I conservatively put in $3.1 million for the next year. So when we don't spend $3 million, I will come to the board later on beginning of '24 to say, we're going to reduce that $3 million appropriation, bring it back to zero, that releases the $6 million, and I get the $3.1 million. Don't go overboard in there. If I have to, I'll come for additional appropriation. But you know, this is not a taxing fund, it has no bearing on our dollar tenant whatsoever. So it's really just a cash base and authorization. You have the cash to cover what your request is. So this form right here, the easy part about this form is you're learning about, there's no assessed valuation that we have to worry about, no tax rate we have to worry about, and revenue streams that are coming in. We just know that if the cash is available from our other funds, we will transfer it in as we do. It's a building block fund. Kind of helps you with the one-on-one you learn about reducing appropriation and not reducing appropriation. Okay. Let's skip a couple pages and let's get to the education fund. Another non-taxable fund. Again, in 101, we know that this takes care of all of our instructional needs within the district. Our teacher pay, our student supplies, anything to get in the classroom or instruction. Coaches are paid out of here even. So on page 62, at the top, you should see education fund. You're going to see our cash balance at $8.1 million. Significance of this fund is that we now have increased funding formula numbers, which you'll see in the presentation. In addition, these legislators have placed other funding sources into the revenue, such as English Language Learners, ELL, which was its own fund. Now they're going to make us take care of it in the education. Okay, not separated out. Okay. That runs about $300,000 in our district, only because that's what that grant is support. We foresee this increasing. The need to increase staffing services for our ELL students, because that population has grown over time. And so we've had a lot of discussion about that. You will not see appropriations setting in the education fund. The account will increase, will be created. We will spend money out of there. They will show a negative, that section. And at the end of the year, I always do the appropriation transfer, so I capture it from where I need to capture it to move it in. So I have increased. You're going to see a substantial increase in appropriation because that revenue now supports that request. Okay? And remember, we agreed that the 10% cash balance of a fund, is 10% of your appropriations. And we started off with $67 million in this. We're asking for $85 million this next time. Okay, now all that does not belong to a classroom. Some of that cash has to go over to operations fund. But we understand that concept when we go through resolutions. All right. So this also, if you look down where it says miscellaneous revenue, funding formula, all that is going to be about $85 million. I am actually setting the budget at $76,696. We have agreed that $6.7 million is our 10% benchmark. I am not going to go after the superintendent and say we got to make it $7,600,000. Now, if we get there, that's okay. I mean, we're not going to complain about that, right? That just is more funds. But I benchmark when they come and say how much do we have money to give into raises. I benchmark at $6.7 million. I haven't gotten to the 7.6. We will go there if we have that much revenue coming down the line. Our enrollment goes because I have to be able to support them forever. Also remember, in the education fund, I have increased appropriation because we now have to make sure that we're taking care of textbooks. We have a great textbook fund. We've been preparing for that. Thankfully, for another reason, how to fund that. Well, the state's really going to supplement that. But I've never ever taken supply money away. As a matter of fact, I've increased it by 10% every year, so they've got more money in their supply line than they've ever had in their budget. So regardless if I collect it from a student or not, because some students can pay, won't pay, so I've been preparing and never ever counted on that as revenue. So when I'm reporting revenue to the state projected, I never consider that because you never know if somebody's going to pay or not. Plus, remember, when I'm working on this in June, a student may have signed up for a particular class in high school and may have changed their mind. And so for that school year, I would have known that I didn't have that fee. So I have just looked at 5-year expenses and supplies and just increased that over time. And of course, those change because it depends on the supply size. It changes by programs, different things. They may not need something this year because they have enough, so they may need something else. So if anybody's not doing that, I would encourage everyone to just increase their budgets. That's the advice that people ask me when I'm out doing presentations, is that you look on the need and increase. So that way it can be distributed through that building appropriately. So even though that the any cash balance looks like it's 6.7 at the end, which is the benchmark on line 18, trying not to get us below that, we're hoping that our enrollment will increase, our miscellaneous revenues will come in, our expenses stay pretty steady. I've got the increases that we have projected and we approved tonight, in that process for paras. So I also know how much money I'm available to offer. If I have that much money, I offer it. I don't come in lower. All of our teams have learned that. If I got it, I offer it. And so we're pretty pleased with that, so that we can maintain a balanced budget. And you will see that it says outstanding temporary loans and transfers. That is the operation transfer amount. You can see where it's defined in line 16C as $11.5 million. We'll get into that and I'll tell you the percentages of it. Let's talk about operations. This is one, the only reason we're going through these. We'll get to debt and all that good stuff pretty soon. But this is where we're going to learn a little bit how to calculate your tax rates. And we're going to talk about assessed value. Right? Everybody knows the state of Indiana, whether you're a homeowner or you live next door in Kentucky, that our property values are increasing. Right? As they rightfully should, because they should have been evaluated a long time ago at a different pace than it was. But now the attraction to different areas, those amounts are increasing. Legislation is trying to kind of slow that train a little bit, right? By implementing additional tax deductions, personal tax deductions if you own homes. So, those amounts will be changing, so that's already known in the operation. What happens with that, what gets unknown is how many people know about it. Do you go down and get a little bit more tax relief on their own home, their homestead credits, they're over 65, and veterans. They may not catch that until the second year. So I'm preparing ourselves for when that whole thing comes in. But ironically, with preparing this, because of the state of Indiana has been increasing their assessed value so exponentially. You've heard Matt and Chad from Stiefel talk about that increase that they're seeing across the state of Indiana. This year, by the leads of the Lord, I'm sure, I only increased the assessed value for this purpose by 10%. We will find that it actually increased only by 6.7%. Okay? So I will show the impact of what a higher assessed value equals a lower rate, and a higher rate, a lower end assessed value increases your rate. So let me say that again. A higher lowers your rate, lower AV increases your rate. So that way, if you need X amount of dollars, it adjusts with it. So it doesn't matter if your property's going up or down, that rate's going to adjust to do that. We stay at $1.10. And I've demonstrated, I've got a worksheet here that you'll be able to see. But to calculate your tax rate is simply the amount of property tax I need to operate this fund, this particular fund. Listen to all of these cap things that are on. We have circuit breaker, 1%, 2%, 3%, depending on home, rental, and business. All right? Home, agricultural, and business. 1, 2, 3. That's a cap. You can only grow by a certain percentage now on how much property tax you can ask for in an operations fund. So there's a cap. And you're going to be able to file individually tax deductions for credit on your home. 3 caps that keeps us from getting the money that a school can tax for. So when we say we don't have control over it, it's always been a control. When you go and get your homestead credit, that is a control to your tax rate. So your levy in this particular case is $19,200,000. Divided by your assessed value, and I use 4.6 billion, equals your tax rate times 100, because you're taxed at a rate for $100 of the value of your home. Right? So there's your little 102. So my fear is always, am I ever going to advertise high enough? Because I have to advertise high so I can control that tax rate down to $1.10. I don't do it high enough, I don't advertise high enough, I can't go anywhere. I can't go anywhere. I like to get it high and I bring it down. Guaranteed, we'll show you our tax rate, how we've been doing that. But our new assessed value, I calculated everything on 4.6 billion, sorry. So that's higher. The tax rate, I'm going to advertise this here. The new one is 4.469 billion, so that's lower. So guess what? My advertising over here, so I'll be protected in my advertisement. Right? So that's a fund that is just cash based. A fund that's supported by state money. So that state money is not a burden on the taxpayer. As a matter of fact, that state money comes in and helps you with your operations. And then the taxable fund is operations. Pays for your utilities, water, heating, cooling, capital, right? Our capital right now is in debt because we're building. But all of those things, it's a very small percentage for salaries. I've always said, it may not be in the classroom, but I think I have pretty heavy influence on what happens in the classroom. I pay the teacher, right? I'm paid out there. Your payroll lady's paid out there. I think she's probably got the most influence on everybody on what goes on here. And then certainly your superintendent's out of there. So, I can debate that all day, but that's where we are. So very small percentage.
Don't forget about us.
Oh, y'all are, yeah, boards out of operations, yeah. So you'll see the significant difference in salary benefits in the education fund versus operating the district. So that's what the presentation is about. So now we can go all the way back to the beginning.
Does that mean I can use PowerPoint now?
You can look at PowerPoint, not what. Significant dates, this is my lifeline, all the places that everybody's got to be, and what we have to do in order to accomplish a budget. Starts way back in May. But for the board, tonight is your presentation. On the 12th, I will do a short presentation of the budget and ask for permission to advertise at that point. We're advertising a public hearing on the 26th. And then on the 17th, we will adopt your budget. We send off then after that to the LGF, and they will work that budget. I need a bigger podium on this stage, y'all. Here are the buckets that we deal with. You see the 5 funds there. We will be going down to 4. Exciting news here. Your pension is going to be paid off in the 24 budget. We're pretty excited about that. That was a statewide mandate. Some people were able to get that paid off long ago, but we had a bigger borrowing, so we had to get to this point and pay that off. As a matter of fact, this is my only second one in my lifetime I've ever paper one also, it's very exciting to me. The next is your cash balance. The reason why we're able to pay our well-deserving employees is because you have more money than you've ever had. And everybody says, oh Lord. But it's where you should be getting to. It's where you need to be. We're operating in over a 10,000 student operation here. We are a major corporation. We're one of the largest in the county, so we should be fiscally responsible and adhere to that. So these are the June 30th balances, and you'll see those go to Form 4B, because that's the very first number you start with. So these are significant for everyone, but you can see how low you got, a little dangerously low here, and so we have worked very hard to make sure that we're responsible on our expenses and how we manage those funds and how we distribute those out. We all pretty much have vowed that we're not going to get back to where we were, because it's much more appealing to stand in front of a ribbon cutting for 12 ports that our students are going to enjoy. Even people who have left to come back just to see, to school buildings that are going to be state-of-the-art and pay our employees what they deserve. So I think I like that better than to say, Lord, we're going to have to cut it. You know, we always tighten our belt when we can. Doesn't mean you have all the money in the world. You always tighten your belt whenever you can. Any questions on that cash balance? This is right here. This is where we're going to kind of talk about some history here. You are going to see that we looked at 21, 22, and 23, and how our growth has gone through a big change, because this is where you can see what your benchmarks are. So 21, for example, we started off with 7.3 million, but you can see the impact of a TAW right there in 21, correct? And we did that first goal. We no longer wanted to do TAWs in the sense that we didn't want to do that anymore. So once you got away from that, you can see that your cash balance started to increase. So if you look at 22, you went from $2 million being available up to 6.7. To 23, you went to $8.1 million available. So the only time you use a TAW, I'm going to remind the world again, is if you do not anticipate getting your property taxes distributed to you from the county. We are so far past that. We have technology that's better, assessed values that are going in, tax billings going in, everyone handling all the things that they can handle and get the proper entities running. So you can see there that in operations, a very dangerous one there. Had you not had that TAW, you had $1 million, but 8 of it was TAWs, so that puts you down $3 million. You had 5.2 million, grew from 3 in the hole up to 5, up to 6. Your rainy day is growing from 2.3 to 3.5 to 6.1. So you are doing way better in that management. Here's the big one. This is the only way that you get revenue into your education fund. This is the number I'm always hoping I'm wrong on, being too low. The appropriations are built on 10,100 students average, because we always lose. If you look at the history, the red is your September count, the blue is your February count. So you're always losing in between. Could be graduate, early grads, you know. So I just took a stab at it this time at 172 kids. At one point, we were talking about 10,200 kids. So, but I got you covered whether it goes up and decreases, or if it goes down. We're at 10,100. So that's where we're going to target for our budget.
By the way, our count today is 10,204. What we're looking at right now. The official count today is October 2nd.
So how the state handles that is they tell you this is how much money we're going to give you per student. So you do your count, you submit it, October it all gets final. By December, they catch you up. So from July, August, September, October, November, they catch you up. You know, if your last numbers were based off of, let's say our last numbers were based off 9,000, and now we show 10,000, they will catch you up in December. In February, count comes, and you drop off. So now let's say we're 9,500, they take that money away in June. So don't just keep getting it. They do their adjustments on that. Let you know how much per student that we're getting. This is your breakdown. We get a grand total of 7,212 per student, which means 6,590 is our foundation amount, and $622 is our complexity. We have really pushed, what we noticed through COVID, because everybody was offered free lunch. We got out of the habit of filling out that request for free lunch to qualify, so our team throughout the whole district, administration down, even our food service, sending out blasts like crazy. We really need to fill that out because we need to match our socioeconomic status. You know, this district has been hovering around 50 to 53% free and reduced. The socioeconomic status in totality should show you about 63 to 68%. So that's what we're encouraging, them to at least take a look at that, so that way you can get free lunch. And more than just the money, but because I believe we feed kids. I don't want to walk out here not being able to eat. So we never let that happen. So we do take those costs on, so we encourage that to happen to go in. Okay, here we go. So to kind of show you, this is a little new report, to kind of show you how I'm breaking down the budget. So I got something on the screen, I have the details of this behind it, your book. But in 23, we got approved for $80,805 in revenues. This year, I'm trying to make sure we get $85.7 million. So I'm increasing it nearly $5 million in revenues as a projection. That's because we got ELL money, a little bit more money for foundation, a little bit more money for complexity. And I'm averaging 172 to 10,100 students. So we really need to hit that 10,200 student benchmark. Subsequently, that will allow us to go from 79 million, right? That includes transfers, up to 88 million. Okay? Now, basic budget that the 1702, which is the approval, will be reduced by those transfer amounts. So like 11.5 million will come off of the 88 million because it doesn't really belong there. It's just cash and transfers. I just kind of want to show you that we're seeing a $9 million increase in what we anticipate spending. So, and as I showed you in Form 480, we'll be able to support that. So, this one you're used to, 76 million, this is the summary of the one over 76.6 million. We will be transferring 11.5 million over to operations, which is a 13.41%. We're entitled to do up to 15. And one day we will, but we want to approach this nicely, nice and smooth without hurting one or the other. I don't want to get off kilter. I don't want to just keep bolstering one. We want to keep them both growing. So we're only at 13.41, that's important. If you go 15% or more, and I would be willing to go 15%, all they do is put you on the list and say you transfer 15%. If I say we're going to transfer 15%, I know I'm on that list, and I'll remind them, I'll probably call them first, let them know. So if we ever get to that point, I'll try to stay at 14.99 down. So the only list we want to be on is a trend setting list. Also, in the past years, it was required that certain defined type of teachers, certain defined type of teachers. Full-time licensed teachers, right? You have a part-time, temporary, emergency license. Some of those did not qualify to be in a formula that's added together. All their base salary had to be 45% of your state revenue. Okay? And we paid pretty good salaries, and we're even getting better. But your benefits are expensive. So if you have percentage benefits, such as TERF, such as PERF, calculated off a base salary, your base salary goes up, well, so does that dollar figure for that percentage for benefits goes up. Benefits are going up, health insurance is going up. And legislation did not consider that as part of the funding formula. When I still had to pay for it out of there. So they went back and said that all of these folks, if the salary and benefits equal 62% or more, then you're matching the requirement of spending the state funds that they decided. They decided to intend to spend. So, last year with just salary alone, this is how we know that we're right on trend with the number of kids, revenue, and salaries that we're paying. So if everybody says that we pay that, this is your evidence. 47.85% of our funding formula solely went to certain accountable teachers' salaries. So I strongly believe that we will hit that 62%. Although we got more revenue now because of the ELO, but that's okay because we already know what we need to do there. In your book, the next page that you'll see there, 9, 10, 11, 12. And 13 is the detail. All of that data takes a lot of time. The very first one on 9 is by program, how we've spent money over the years and where we're at in June. And we have spent, I believe it's 48% of our budget. All right? On my page, yes, 48.51% of our budget. So we're right on target. Half the year, that's what I expect. But the following pages that have the graphs on it will tell you within major program, because the programs I kind of detail on page 9. So if you look at special ed, those kind of things, you will see that you will see the expenses through June 30th, and you'll see my projected increased budget for 24, what I'm doing by program. But moreover, if you want to know within the major program how we're spending that money, whether it's salary, benefits, services, supplies, the following pages will show you that detail. You can see what I've done, what we did in 22, what we were approved for in 23, where we're at in June of 23, and what I budgeted in 24. I use the graph actually on page 13, build a budget inside the DLGF's portal that you have to put your information in. So if you take a look at the page 13, you will see that we project $52 million in salaries alone. Right? Now, notice on there you don't have the transfers because I handle that straight up as cash with via resolution. So that's not on. The next page I'll be at is 14. This is just a description of your operations fund. What operations takes care of is the general operating of the district, capital projects, transportation, and bus replacement. So if you're buying buses, there's 2 ways that we're doing that right now. We're doing it through our operations fund as well through our bond issuances because we need a lot of buses to be replaced. And so we're going to try to get right back on schedule with that. You can replace them every 12 years. We have some that, on the following categories. We didn't have money 3 years ago to really keep up with that. So now we're back on target. Daniel's got, but I think we want, I think at least 7 or 8 buses this year. So we're back on target. I show you 18, the numbers with 18 with that going into that bucket, because that's the year that we combine all of those individual funds into one bucket. And at that time, that's what you were running to do that. Those numbers have substantially increased. What are we doing on time, Renee? We good? Oh, 7. Time we start. Oh, we got a bet going on when we do. We didn't start. Does she have a time limit?
She told me an hour. We started at 6:43, we started.
I said 6:45, maybe 2 minutes.
No, 6:43.
On the clock.
Heard I talk,
On page 15, here is a summary so you can see what you did last year, what I'm doing for operations for '24. You can see that I am increasing the revenue projection by 3.8 million. And as far as expenditures, I'm increasing that budget by 8.1 million. I have always said this district is way too low in appropriations to operate the school district. So when we first started, it was about 19 million. I've got you up to 29, you knew that was a goal, and we're going to try to push that every year. We're going to keep pushing and pushing, and what helps with that is the cash balance that comes in. So, and our growth, our property growth helps us with that process. So I will be increasing this budget by 8.1 million if so approved by the LGF. The next page will let you know that they will be receiving 11.5 million. 19.2 million in property taxes is what I'm going to be asking for. So we also get miscellaneous revenue, which is when you buy your license plates, or license, excise tax, and local income tax is projected to be at 2.975. So hoping that our local income tax would increase substantially more, but it has not. We're a very vast employment area, so hopefully we'll be able to see that pretty soon, that coming in. Also remember that we have to plan for the circuit breaker. So if I'm asking for 19.2, this fund is going to get hit about $6 million. So the LGF gives us that number. They're always overestimating. I come in within reason. I usually stay around the 6 million. It comes in about 5.8. If that is not, we have an extra 200,000 to keep building the next year. I don't work just in 23 the 6 months. I don't work just in 24 the 12 months. I don't work just in 25 those 12 months. I'm already thinking about 26. So if I sign a check that says 26, that's only because I'm paying about 26. But you can see that the DLGF circuit breaker estimate is 6.859. We've always come in under that. So that's what we're hoping for. The reason I need to build this is because some of our operating costs that are emergency aid that we're paying out of our bond money should be getting us to a point where now we should, at certain points, start a replacement plan out of this fund. So you notice that we've been doing paving, and it's so massive, this fund couldn't handle that plan whatsoever. So we had to put it into our bond replacement plan, emergency repairs. So we have that in our plans. Once we get caught up, then we will start reserving lines for those, because the ones that we started a few years ago, by the time we get that, we should be ready to get onto that replacement plan again. So hopefully that'll be down the line, and we can just kind of reserve those funds for those types of things. Anything that comes up that we can put on a plan in the future, you'll never stop doing a plan because you're required to submit a capital project plan all the time. We just go further to address the true needs, so that way we can get to that plan. I put our 5-year plans on our capital needs so that the DLGF knows that we are planning and we are spending. So that will be coming in, we fold some of that stuff in. Technology plans will be out of operations. So those are the kind of things that we're going to have to be ready for 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Those plans start to fold in, but it shouldn't be as massive by when we're pushing it now. Again, in your books, you will also see by program how I spend money. I don't know, I'm no lady, but somehow we spend it. You will see the 23 appropriations of 21 million, you can see, and I'm projecting a $29 million increase, and you can see the programs that we do that. Now, does that necessarily mean that's how much money we're gonna spend? No, not at all. Because you can go through history of time from 20 to 22 to see what we spent money, and what programs, and where we're at in 2023. Right now, we're at 58.73. So what does that mean? That means that I'm only gonna have enough appropriation. This is the one I keep saying, I have enough appropriation because we're operating. We need to have enough appropriation to operate, and we've spent 58%, almost 59% of our budget, and this is as of June. So I monitor that pretty hard, and so we gotta back off on some things because you don't have the authority to spend. Again, but if I need to come back, I will come back. I carry appropriation over when I need to. You'll see 1.6 million there that I have brought over. So that way we can have some kind of reserve there to cover any expenses from that point forward.
Program 23100. This is the Board of Education.
Yeah, so the Board of Education.
Otherwise, tonight's my last meeting, I'm resigning. I'd like to take my severance.
So the Board of Education doesn't just get paid. The Board of Education is also responsible for several things that goes on in the district. So let me be clear. There's no way that's your salary for the board. I can tell you what I do. That's about,
I wouldn't want all that.
about $14,000 a year totality. But the rest of it, right, so the rest of it is for other things that the board has to participate in, whether it's the fees or dues. These are just things that the school corporation has to do. There are things that the board purchases on behalf of the children. So you have that, and it's at the direction of the superintendent. So, you have those opportunities, any plaques and awards that you give to students, those kind of things that you could pay for. And that's the line in there, but we're required to charge every year for plaques, but you are a significant part of their instructional activities.
Does this include like a legal defense retainer?
We do not have retainer. We do not do legal defense retainer because all firms, when we went through that letter of agreement, do not believe that we should pay for something we don't have, which is true. So that's not in there. There is that might be in there. Let me see. Look at this other.
Like that's in there, I can see how it's that high, but.
I mean, I
So
certainly
you
give you the
have-
detail of it.
I don't want to slow up the meeting.
Yeah,
we were doing quite well.
Questions.
Some of this when the schools need help and
Yes.
stuff, we take it out of our budget and your budget. I know Mark's and I'll take some out of your guys' since there's some money sitting in there.
Okay.
Yeah, for different events or something that's going on, or when she said plaques, supplies, or something that they might need.
So legal's down in the 2 through 2, but I can certainly give you that detail. It's no problem with me. We don't let the purchases go through, they shouldn't, especially in this fund. So we detail all that out for you, and I'll share that via email to you all at any point in time. Yeah. Please don't think that you guys make that kind of money.
No, I didn't. We know better.
Just in case you thought that.
And it's okay, I'm not saying that.
Yeah, it's all right. So if you're looking at your book, these two funds, this is the one that mainly has salaries, and this is evident for the salary debate here. In education fund, you have salary benefits at a totality of all employees that are paid out of education fund at 89.73%. All others are like supplies, any services that they may need is 10%. But in the operation fund, you're at 70.41% to run the district, and salary benefits are 21.59. So all that line item you could see that the salaries in totality inside operations on budget. Sorry, page 21, I put in a budget for salaries of 4.2 million. Right, doesn't mean I spend it all. I reserve appropriation to carry forward because we don't have enough, so that's where I reserve it from. Central services, you want to take a look at a line. Now, of course, operations is operations. You know, you're paying for utilities, the whole operating of your district, your custodial maintenance, that agreement and everything. But if you want to take a look at a line, 2,500 is business office. It's under the business office, but that's not all me, right? So everybody that falls under the business office is every person that's in the business office, every person that's in HR. There's all kinds of things that fall underneath there. So that's what builds that up. So, yeah, I don't get paid $2 million, just saying, even though it says business. That's our state numbering system, but I'll for sure read you the detail on what says school board for that. Your following pages, and we're going to stick to the book, okay, because we're going to go to rainy day. The following pages is your capital plan and your bus replacement plan. So you can see all the vehicles that you do own. I do have to put our contractors on there, well, certainly, because we do have to pay them out of operations fund. So I make sure that they are on the list, and so that way we don't keep track of all of our contractors. After that,
What page would we be on?
sorry, pardon me?
What page are you referring to in the book?
Sorry. Starting with page 23, page 35, that is your bus replacement plan and capital projects plan.
Okay.
Okay. So the first one is your bus replacement, because when we do our public hearing, it is to approve a bus replacement plan, the capital projects plan, which is not a 5-year plan that we're going to be going to in 26, on September 26th. That is a totally different plan, that's your bond plan. But some of the things that we plan on doing will be in here, so we know that we're going to have to handle some of those issues. Even if we say new buildings, because you don't know if you need to do a new building, those kind of things in your capital project. Your bus listing includes all your buses and your contractor drivers. Very small. Too hard to see. All right, page 36. We're going to go right to rainy day because we talked about this on the form 4B. You see that better?
Yes.
3.1 million is all I'm asking for in appropriation. If we always need more, I can always go back for more. I don't like to do that, so we're going to kind of keep this because we're trying to build this fund up. So as we do, I will come to the board with resolution on such a thing. Now, what we want you to do is if you look into page 38. This is the big thing. This is your debt. You will be losing your pension debt. Here is evidence of building a cash balance in debt. You have a cash balance in pension debt, right? So when we get to the taxing rate, I will show you how I'm asking for $1.3 million to pay the last 2 payments on the pension. Okay? Even though I have $700,000 to go towards that, we'll only need $600,000 really for the taxing community. So I'll be able to decrease that rate to get us right to $1.10. Does that make sense? Because I have that cash balance. I will not need to get more cash from the tax rates. But I have to ask for the appropriation to pay it. Okay, so I have to get the authority to pay it. I will be only getting this amount of month in property tax plus our cash balance. That tax rate will decrease. Your debt service, of course, increases as we borrow, but that is a controlled rate that we're monitoring. That one will also be advertised high but reduced. Some new rules there with those rates. And when we get ready to borrow our next one, we'll go through through that in detail at that time. I provided you this list here so you can see how many loans we'll be paying off in '24. 6 of them. Congratulations on that. You can peruse that, and those should make sense to you, because these were past borrowings, but for example, our last 2, it says Series 23A, is the partial borrowing that we did for Pool, Parkwood, District Repairs and Technology. We just approved that, so now that's showing up as a repayment. 22, the 2 new elementaries, we did a partial borrowing on that. We'll get a final borrowing later on this year. We'll come to the board with that. Does that make sense on that particular screen? We go as fast.
No.
All right, so if you're looking at the book on page 40, you will see your assessed value growth at the bottom, which influences your advertised rate. So I'm advertising pretty high, but this right here proves to you that we obtained the $1.10 that we promised. So ever since the very first budget of 21, you've been able to hit that $1.10. So this is your evidence. So the 24 advertisement will be $1.43, and I will bring it down to $1.10. That's probably the biggest assurance I think that everybody wants to hear from me. We've been able to do that through advertising high and reducing our rates and anticipating the tax rates to do that. I only promised the budget for an hour. I have a finance full section you want to talk about.
No, you said you'd be done talking in an hour.
I know. That's important to me, you know. The reason this wasn't included in your book is because we just got these assessed values. So I wanted to kind of show you the difference. So coming into tonight, I can show you what the 24 budget for each fund and summary on page 41 looks like, and the revenues. And it describes to you the revenue streams that come in. This is the one that I will go through at our budget presentation on the 12th, so that way we don't have to go through all this in detail. And below, at the bottom of the screen, you will see the tax rates. So the actual tax rate for 23 was $1.10. You can see those actual rates. And in 24, the advertised rates. This will actually, we no longer have to put in the newspaper, but this will actually what we show on our web page. Okay, so that's the only place that I advertise. The levy that we're allowed to ask for operations, that max levy is 19.2. Maybe a couple dollars short of that, so I round up on some of those things so that we make sure that we cover ourselves for the need for that fund and growth on our assessed value. It's important that the world kind of knows why we advertise so high. And so this sheet that I give to you, you will now see the difference. So I will be advertising that column says 2024 advertised. You see it says $1.43. That was based on the assessed value assumption of $4.6 billion. And you see it's $1.43. The actual assessed value that came through is $4.469 billion. Yet, therefore, you are going to see the tax rate go up. That's why we decided to stay at $1.10, because you don't want your tax rates to go like that. And if we think that property value goes down, then your tax rate's going to skyrocket. Your property goes the other way, it's going to plummet, and you won't have enough money to operate. So we don't want to ever get ourselves in that position. This right here will show you exactly where I'll reduce. You know, that debt rate looks a little high from what I'm advertising, but that will come significantly down. You see that if it's really gonna be $1.48, and I'm gonna cut 38 cents, that pension debt, first off, is gonna be 0.001. That's gonna be the rate for what we need. And all, it's not even gonna register a 1 penny to pay that off because we've saved our cash balance. We've done our cash balances the way that we need to. And then the rest will come off that debt, so that'll come all the way down. Right? So we should be about 67-cent range to 70-cent range. We try to stay within the 80-cent range, stay within that realm. Doesn't mean that the operations isn't going to go up because you gain growth every year. So this is how this kind of works. I go through all the detail of all the expenses. We go and we increase them. Sorry, I can't tell you all the detail of that one line item. I will though. Create the appropriation based on 5 years' expenses. Increase as hard and as high as I can to advertise and to provide. So that way we can advertise a high tax rate. So when all the numbers start coming in between now, and usually November-ish, December, the state of Indiana requires every entity to be done with their budget November 1st or November 2nd, depending on those dates. And they work through all of those. And so by December, we usually know what that budget turns out. And they call me and they say, they send me the forms and they say, here's what your budget is. And I call them and don't sign off on it. And I make the adjustments and send it in and we get the $1.10. So when taxpayers take a look and see, I thought you said you were going to keep it at $1.10 and you're showing $1.48, $1.43. The answer is because we do take it down. That's what it is. I want to answer the rest of the book is all the forms that I have to complete on the state website. But I want to give you a chance to ask me questions. I know this is a lot always. Before I quickly show you how we're progressing in the financial reports. Oh my gosh, it's 44. 1 minute over, we lost the bet.
We'll allow it.
Huh?
I'll allow it.
Don't allow it.
No, I won't.
Oh, she's like, no. I sounded just like Rebecca.
So, do you have the major fund?
I have one. I'll give it. I've got it. There you go.
Is that a page in our numbers in our power?
That's your engine work session.
Yeah, this is just the work
This is
session.
the work
This is
session.
Okay.
yeah, this is not in the book. Not in the
Yeah, we
book.
just started.
Well, but
Oh, okay.
her, she's my watch.
So in July, we have some.
And she's still talking, so.
So in July, because of all of the things we do all the reconciliation. So there's a couple places I want you to focus on here and has been accounted for in the budget. So education, you can see it amounts 10 million, June 30th was 8. We reconcile all of the numbers in June, you start getting new money in July. Remember, not all that belongs. I just don't transfer it to operations until December. Your operations, setting at 4.8 million. If you compare to last year, we're trending better. But the area I want you to look at is debt service, where you see the negative 593,827. Last year, when I built the debt service budget, there were 2 line items. The first one is future borrowing, because in December of every year, we anticipate borrowing. So this year, or 22, let's say, June 30th had a number, and later on, I go through it and I come back and say, hey, we need to have this bond for completion. Bonds for the pool at Parkwood, that's why we all know that those projects are coming, and we borrow in December for those things. And when we get disbursement, it could happen December, January, February, March, however we want to receive that money. Well, preparing the 23 budget, I had that number in there, and I had a plug number in for textbook rental. This is the last year that you were able to levy for textbook reimbursement as of June 30th. I put that number up there pretty high. And so when I wrote up to transfer it, I transferred too much because I didn't capture the right worksheet. Okay, so I transferred $500,000 too much. I had like 600 and some odd thousand in there. That was the line I transferred. Knowing that I could only support $78,000 because you could only levy for the difference between what the state gives you and what you actually have. So $78,000, I can support that. But in the reconciliation, we have enough catchphrases that when we do July, this was all corrected in July, you can clearly see it here. If you take a look at any of the forms, it looks like that I'm going to be increasing appropriation in '24, but I will not have to because the expenses will decrease, therefore the appropriation will become available and we won't have to go for an additional appropriation. So all that has been correct. And next is the pension debt at $715,000 will be utilized towards the 24 two payments, June and December, plus new tax money, which won't be as much, to cover the $1.3 million that we have to pay out the pension to finish that loan. So I kind of want to point that out to you. The next one is your treasurer's report for July. Nothing out of the ordinary, but always taking your eyes to your school lunch program. They've already contacted me and said, I need to write a spend down plan. And I'm glad you yelled at about that. We do have that. We know it's North Haven right out of the gate. We approve those purchases. And so some of the funds that we will be looking at those new elementaries to see if there's any funds that can support that cost. But we're also going to go through and evaluate, Jeff High needs some expansion. And we've got plenty of students there to expand. So that one will probably be on target as well. So we will have a complete plan that's always fluid to change that over. So, you know, they have a nice set of money there. Far cry from the $600,000 that was in for 2 or 3 years. We're at that $30 million mark. I mean, you'll see on the next report that you'll have about $2.4 million available to spend. If you look at Fund 90, there's where you'll see that I transferred back $580,000 that I wrote up incorrectly. And then your self-insurance fund, you see that we ended, we're approaching that $3 million. I plan to keep on building that fund to ensure the fact that we stay over that $3 million mark. That's the importance. But you should notice not very many reds on that, even with our reimbursables, because we're staying within the reimbursement ranges. So we have a new member up at the business office. Or Tricia lost Whitney because I stole Whitney from her. So you don't see Whitney at the front door anymore. Whitney's upstairs with me. So she's doing fabulous in learning that process, and it's real well within my team. I've always said that I couldn't do any of this without them, because I'm not even shy about that. So, monthly bond report, if you could. And you will see here, the CMS money that's left over, that's not obligated, will be used for CMS River Valley repairs. It'll be part of that renovation project to pay that off. Franklin Square, we're continuously doing things for them. Shades are one of the things that we're working on for the playground there. It's kind of in a tight spot, but we're going to be looking at all of our playgrounds with shades. It's so hot outside. So, you know, we're replacing Playground Student District through Playground Brand as our pre-K plan, so we're doing that. So that the shades will be coming in wherever I can pay for. If I have extra funds available to bond, I'll buy those shades in a heartbeat. So, The Series 19, I've got money reserved there for the Charlestown High floor. We have that. That was for if we were just going to stand it and repaint it. I'm still hanging on to that, but we feel that we're going to do a full replacement, and that's going to be in the plan. So you will see that in the plan, and once we kick that off and we make sure we have enough money to cover that, I'll reduce that encumbrance, and that will free up money there to spend in the other areas. So that's how that works. The others are just moving along. You know, the 2020 bond is, you know, Charlestown football, and any money left over will contribute to the Jeff High locker room that's incorporated into your pool area. The 21, Bryce kind of went over some of those projects. That's his year one projects. So your Riverside, let me address that. If I ever get funds available that are left over in a bond that was associated with Riverside, you know, I talked about the parity ones. Those shingles need to be replaced, and we're very aware of that. So if I don't have funds available that become available through the bonds that are older, we will put that in a plan where that area will be nearly done. That school will be almost completely done. So kind of want to keep that momentum there. Furniture over there, additional fencing needs to go on. So we have just a few more things on the other side to tighten that up. Our goal is that we're working on several schools, but we're going to go back and try to finish each one. So that's what I monitor through this. As far as become available, I can come back and tighten up some things. The other two, you know that elementaries we started, so clearly we're paying, and that 22 pool, technology, buses, land clearing, paving. We've done our paving throughout the year already. We already did that budget. HVAC improvements, roofing, all the miscellaneous work that we're doing through the school, the emergencies. We had several. We had we're submitting to insurance. River Valley had a water main break over there, flood that whole school. They all got brand new floors. So that's really actually going to be paid out of your operations fund, and the insurance will pay us back. So that's kind of how that works. I'd rather do it through a bond and pay us back, because then it takes my appropriations, but we'll get our pay. The next is the food service. Quickly at the bottom, they're starting, and you see all those zeros there. So we do a school year plan, so July 1 to June 30th, and I go back and I take a look at 3 months expenses. So that's what you see up at the top, 3 months expenses. At the bottom, I keep a 12-month rolling, so that way I can come to the average monthly expense, because I can only keep 3 months worth of expenses in that fund, because we're not going to let it go below $600,000. So currently at $2.5 million, that will be applied toward the North Haven. We've made all those orders. That's not going to be installed until students are in, because there's plenty of time to get that all in and ready to go. We've already put the entry for the second serving line, so that's all done. We just have freezers that we're wiring for, equipment, you know, that second serving line, new equipment in here. So that's coming down the pipe. You saw that one equipment in the cafeteria was like $333,000. I have to say in summary that a couple of things.
You're amazing.
Huh?
You're amazing.
Well, I want to put that in the right spot. I want to put that in the right spot.
We're amazing? You're welcome.
Yes, you are. Because I've said for 3 years that if, well, let me start off first. The team that is here constantly is always looking for ways that this district, A, can be financially successful. Of course, we're all about the children and education, we got it. But they clearly understand the significance of being financially successful. Because we want the best, we want to hire the best, we want to pay them. And so, Tricia is very good. I say, oh, this is how much it's gonna cost, Laura. And so she's very good at letting me know that. Kim and her team look for grants and very strategically provides the services by taking the pressure off your education fund, which does two things. Frees up money to pay our teachers and get our operation fund in the right place. Having all that, because she orchestrates not just herself and people that's right there, but she has directors and she has those that are constantly looking at that. She's got folks that monitor our athletics because there's money there and they're constantly looking at that to make sure that we're trying to get their funds at the higher level. And finally, the superintendent can always say, Lord, we're crazy, we can't do that, right? But he is so supportive in what we're trying to do with our money. And even though this sounds confusing, he can walk the walk and talk the talk. It doesn't happen amongst a lot of superintendents. They'll say things at this level, but he really could probably, I can hand him this book and he'll understand everything about it. I say that because the board has unified and supports the mission, which gives him the support to get these funds where they're at. So, yes, I know what I'm doing only because I'm an old timer. I got it. But I guarantee you, if we didn't have all those in place, and I spent most time fighting that, we've got a slower pace. And so, as much as I would love to sit here and tell you I was the most amazing CFO, I am for you, right? I am for you, and I will always represent the Greater Clark as if I am, because nobody will ever be able to compete with what we're doing. So I'll be proudly stand in front of anybody and say, yeah, that's what we're doing, right? Never ever do I ever take the full credit, because honestly, I have the ladies in my office, they keep that machine running. If I had to sit here and write receipts, write checks, do all the state reporting, I'm doing my fair share, but do all the state reporting without my right hand Lisa, and all these folks playing that, this machine's running like this. That's because I'm taking handshakes. And I think that the one thing I will tell you is that I've given them a different perspective. The beginning is like how to cut that burden, to raise that burden off their shoulders, to now think clearly. Now they're able to say, I can take this into my fund, because it's a different mindset now. And so I'll continue to forge for that. I will be at the ISBA conference talking about the success of this board, superintendent, every player that's here, because I'm very proud of that. And I want to represent that. And I want them to know how good we are. And if they think it's me, well, they're probably going to be corrected. But, I'm not taking anything away from me. I don't want you to think that I'm not doing that. I just want you to know, really, it does take a village to do it all. And from the protection team, making sure everything's cleaned up out there for ribbon time. We've had water, we've had weeds, we've had everything. We look good. We're peeling. I've said from the beginning, this is the area that people should be. This is where we're at. So I don't know if you realize what you're embarking on. I've said every time that we show up to one of these events, say you're changing lives. There's something that I present all the time, and I already did to Mark, but it's difference maker, life changers. And I probably have 7 of them here. I've promoted that a long time ago with leadership. So I will be giving you all a bracelet that says difference maker, life changer, and I'll give you a second one to go on to give it to somebody who is you see making a life-changing decision. And you should see a lot of them because they're all of our districts. So I thank you for letting me get up here and just kind of fumble through these numbers because they're so good. I just want to stand there and say it's just good. But it does take a lot of work. I know it's hard to comprehend it all, but I can't thank everyone enough. Everybody here has stayed. Anybody that's on the TV watching, my sister. Hey. So, the other one that put up with it.
How many do we have?
So, and there's bill questions, I ain't finished.
Well, just to let you know, Laura's session at the, or at the school boards, is at, from 10 to 11 on Tuesday, so we'll all be there.
Yeah.
Maybe, what else is going on?
I always said, when they called, I said, hey, if somebody wants to listen to the story about Greater Clark, I'm gonna tell them.
I'm gonna be there.
I'm gonna tell them. So,
You should write a book and call it, They Said It Could Never Be.
and they said, they did, they did. Well, so Laura, you know what you're getting into?
All right, well, we're officially finished?
Yeah.
All right,